Hello all and welcome, and I am the MGTOW philosopher. And in this episode I would like to discuss the issue of transracialism. That's right, you heard me right, transracialism. Now the reason I'd like to talk about this is because I recently saw a video about, and read a story online as well, about the famous Rachel Dolezal, who is now back in the media spotlight after writing a new book. Yeah, I won't be reading that. And so I wanted to address this issue because I thought it was very interesting, because it directly parallels the argument of transgenderism, which is also a sham. So people like to say that gender is fluid. You can be a man, you can be a woman, you can be whatever you want. Oh, but only applied to gender. Right. Well, now we have Rachel Dolezal coming along saying, nope, it applies to everything. Race, whatever. You can be Herbie the Love Bug if you want from that Disney movie. You can be a tree. You can be a puppet. You can be a car. You can be whatever you want. Whatever you identify as, you can be. Ultimate relativism. Everything is relative. Well, that's total nonsense. But the funny thing is that instead of embracing this new ideology, this new narrative, the left is rejecting it in droves. The vast majority of the liberal, Marxist, leftist, pinko commie media totally rejects this idea. Race is fluid? That's bullshit. Gender is fluid. There's no such thing as transracialism. It's insulting to trans people. Race is biological. It's biological. You cannot change race. So if race is biological, isn't gender biological as well? Oh, gender's not biological. Gender's in your head. Yeah, really? Is that a fact? You know, generally, when I take a shower, I look down, I see something between my legs that isn't there on women, but I have it. So when the left says, left meaning feminist, pinko, Nazi, Marxist, communist scumbags, leftist douchebags, essentially, that's what I'm talking about. When the left says, there's no difference between men and women, they're the same in race and gender. No, gender is a social construct. Well, if gender is a social construct, then why do I have something between my legs and the woman doesn't? You want to tell me that? How do I have this and she doesn't? It's automatically, right there, we have a contradiction. I have something, she does not, and there's other differences too. So this very obvious visual difference automatically blows the argument for transgenderism out of the water. I'm obviously different than her, but apparently from a leftist point of view, men and women are completely the same. Now, you ask yourself, if a leftist can make that argument and say, well, geez, you know, men and women are no different, gender is fluid, then why don't they make the same argument about race? Why are the leftists suddenly sounding like the conservatives who are talking about gender? They sound exactly like us when talking about this transracial nonsense, as we do when talking about the transgenderism. It's nonsense. These leftists sound just like us. It's nonsense. Race is biological. You can't be a different race. Look at you. You're white, I'm black. Yes, and I have a penis, and you have a vagina. It's the same argument. I can't be black if I'm white. I can't be a man if I'm a woman. These would be obvious truths, you would think. But apparently, if you're a leftist, the world is all relative and open to interpretation. Except about race, of course. Very selective reasoning going on here. Now, you might ask yourself, why is that happening? Why are the left choosing to set aside their own twisted, warped, retarded logic? Why are they choosing to do that? Because this is their own logic, okay? This Rachel Dolezal is using the exact same logic that the left uses about gender. It's in fact the exact same argument. It's no different. Anybody with half a brain can see that. It's the exact same argument. I feel like a black woman. And because I identify as a black woman, I'm a black woman. And you can't say otherwise. So it's the same. So if I say, I'm a woman, I feel like a woman, I think like a woman, and I identify as a woman. So I am a woman, and you can't say otherwise. They're both biological realities, scientifically proven to be biological realities. They cannot be changed. There are clear and obvious differences between races and sexes, so it's the exact same argument. You cannot change race, you cannot change sex. So why is it that the left willfully chooses to apply one argument to gender, but the exact same argument, they won't apply it to race? Even though both arguments apply equally to both issues. Why don't they do it? Why are the media instead blasting this mentally deranged woman who thinks she's black? Why? Why is the left media doing that? Why are the left-wingers attacking someone who, on the surface, would seem like a wonderful, wonderful mascot for a whole new leftist ideology that could undermine America even more, undermine our culture and society even more, and change things so much that America would be completely gone? Well, there's a reason for that, and let me explain. You see, for the past almost 60 years, the left has been pushing a very specific agenda in terms of gender, and it's called feminism. And what the feministic idea is this: men, women, equal, same, no difference, gender, social construct, story over. Now, they've been saying that for the past 60 years. But race, they've been saying the exact opposite. You see, you need to have tools to divide society. Okay? You need to be able to be divisive. All right? So, you need tools like race, for example. So, while you can make the argument that gender is fluid and men and women are the same, yes, that's to basically destroy the traditional view of male and female qualities, to undermine our culture and society. So that in and of itself is divisive, while at the same time allowing redefinition of those things within society that we most identify with. For example, gender, men and women. So, that narrative, gender is fluid, okay, fine, whatever, yeah, all right. What does that do? What effect does that have on society? Well, it turns men into women, okay? And women, in Western society especially, are emotional, collectivist in nature, easily manipulated because they tend to act on impulse and on their feelings. Men are cold, calculating, individualistic. So they are much more difficult to manipulate. And the male has the virtues that have been most lauded in Western society. So you need to destroy those virtues and then turn men into essentially women. Now, the racial argument, this has not been part of their narrative. In fact, from the very beginning of leftism, race has been codified, strongly codified, into a very specific thing. It's not gender fluid. You cannot apply that principle to the left's idea of race. For the past 60, 70 years plus, the left has been polarizing races, identifying people, categorizing them, and putting them into little groups. These are the oppressed. These are the oppressors. They can't, after 70 years of doing this, say, oh, we were wrong. There really is no such thing as race. They can't do it. It's been part of their narrative for their entire history. They can't suddenly turn around and say, oh, there really is such a thing as trans race, just as there's such a thing as transgender. Yeah, race is fluid. Because you know what that would do? It would destroy their entire narrative. You can't do that. You see, right now in America, especially, but in most countries, you have people categorized very specifically into their specific groups. This group is oppressor, this group is the oppressed. This group has virtue, that group does not. And the left uses this tool of race to play one group off another. Creates more friction within the society, it further erodes it, and allows them greater control. But if they were to introduce transgenderism, they can't do it because it would expose if they were, to introduce transracialism. I keep getting the words mixed up because they're exactly the same goddamn thing. But it would expose their sham. If you were to introduce transgenderism, not only would it totally expose the sham of transgenderism, it would totally expose the sham of feminism and the entire left itself. You can't do it. The left would not allow that to happen. So that's why the left can't accept her, because it would implode their entire narrative. It would expose transgenderism for the sham it is, because they've been saying all along, oh, race, very real, you're this, you are that, now fight each other. And in the meantime, they're sitting behind the scenes using the media to inflame one group, inflame another. You're the bad guy, you're the good guy, and pulling all these strings and saying, ha ha, aren't we so clever? And then this Rachel Dolezal pops up. Oh, this don't look so good. Let's just marginalize this crazy broad and report her as some kind of nut job and try to just, get her out of the spotlight as quickly as possible because she's exposing the sham that is our feminist transgender narrative. Because they're both the same goddamn thing. They cannot give her any validity because if they do, then it clearly exposes the sham of feminism, which is one of their strongest deconstructivist tools, and transgenderism. It just can't happen. Race is their most powerful tool for cultural deconstructivism, for cultural Marxism that they have. It's one of their most powerful tools, and it's been in use for the past 70 years, and they simply will not let it go. So that's why the left cannot accept her. And that's why you don't see a lot of transracial people running around. She's the only one that I've seen, because there's no rich people like George Soros paying people to form groups to champion these dumb causes, okay? There's no rich people supporting these narratives. That's why she's the only one out there crowing about this nonsense. You don't have a bunch of rich guys saying, yeah, I'm virtuous, I support transgenders, yeah. So, you cannot say gender is a social construct and say race is a social construct too. You can't do it. Because first of all, both are wrong. But what you can't do as you're a leftist is say, yeah, gender, that's fluid, but race, that's fluid too. So wait a second, I've just contradicted my own, because for 70 years we've been saying that race is not. What's going on here? Were we wrong? If race is not a social construct, and gender isn't a social construct, and feminism is wrong, and our entire narrative is wrong, and this virtuous for being transgender is wrong, they're just mentally ill people, and this Rachel Dolezal is just mentally ill too, and oh my God, I wasted 50 years of my life being a fucking hippie, and now my life is over. What the hell did I do? I fucked up my whole life believing in nonsense. So they're never going to tell themselves that. They're never going to accept this Rachel Dolezal narrative. It just won't happen. So, I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day.